as our kids grow, their best friend will be an AI. You don't want someone to shut that off arbitrarily.
Thank you for doing this, sir. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
To start with, can you please tell me your name and what you do?
Emad Mostaque, I'm founder of Intelligent Internet, build open source AI to help people out.
We'll get more into that in a little bit, but to start with, I'd like to know a little bit about your history. What were you doing before this? What led you to what you're doing now?
Started off as a hedge fund manager and had a Middle East fund investing here in lovely Dubai, amongst other things, video game investor. Then my son was diagnosed with autism and I quit. I built an AI team for him, repurposed drugs, and he went to mainstream school, which was great. Then I was leading a United Nations AI project against COVID-19 and didn't get any AI technology. They said it was too dangerous. And I thought, maybe we should open source it. So I built a company called Stability AI, raised a couple of $100 million, built models like Stable Diffusion that ended up with about 300 million downloads for audio, video, brain scans, and all sorts of other things. And then a year ago, I stepped aside because I was like, it's difficult to compete with OpenAI and everyone. And the future is decentralized on AI. We need to make sure this technology is available to everyone for the stuff that really matters.
Wow, that is a lot to cover. So I'm going to kind of try to go through it a little bit slower for my own brain. So you were a hedge fund manager.
Yeah.
And in Dubai. And what were you mostly doing? You said video game fund?
I ran an emerging markets fund out of London. And so I invested across emerging markets, but also video game stocks, technology. And I had a Middle East fund that invested here as well.
And so you traveled here a lot.
Yeah, I've been here so many times. It's like clockwork.
And you also invested in video games as well?
Yeah, like Square Enix in Japan and CD Projekt out in Eastern Europe, all sorts of things.
Is this because you're interested in video games or just that was kind of the area you were assigned?
No, I was interested in it. And, you stick with what you're interested in. So I was interested in game theory, gaming, etc. So I've been doing crypto for like 12 years now as well. It's the best video game of all. And yeah, it was like, the video game industry has gone from 40 billion to 180 billion over the last decade because the quality's gone up. And if you can find good things, then, it was a great way to make money and have fun because you spend all your time playtesting.
Exactly, right? Yeah, that's definitely insight if you kind of know what you like and
also what you're good at. Like I think in crypto, for example, in life, a lot of people are not building the proper things. Like when we looked at video games, we looked at the time to fun, flow, and frustration. And if you build good things, then you're maximizing the first two and you're minimizing the latter one. And that's really the lens I looked through at that.
You said that you have known about crypto for 12 years?
Yeah. So
thereabouts? It was Bitcoin, I'm assuming?
Bitcoin, Dogecoin back in the day. My college course mate, Ben Dello, was one of the co-founders of BitMEX.
Oh, right. Nice.
He's just got his pardon from Donald Trump. Good on him,
Him and Hayes, high-fiving.
Yeah, I've lost so much money in crypto over the years. I'm very bad at the security on the keys and things. But lessons learned.
Okay. When you first were introduced to crypto, were you skeptical or did you kind of recognize it immediately as something that's going to be important?
So I was a hedge fund manager through the great financial crisis. So I was actually an investor in Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and all of that, right at the center, running a global macro fund. And I was like, this is messed up. Especially because I was like 20-something and running a hedge fund. I was like, that's really messed up. So when kind of I first heard about Bitcoin, I was like, yeah, self-sovereign money makes a lot of sense. And let's see how this evolves. But then I saw it became maybe a bit too libertarian, a bit too open. Like the unruggable, uncorruptible became all rugs and all corruption. And then as we were going through, I was like, there must be something to this. So when I set up Stability originally, we created these communities, 500,000 developers on Discord. And so it's not just people saying when token, it was proper developers. And it was originally meant to be a DAO of DAOs. But the technology wasn't quite there yet. But now I think the technology is there for the next evolution of crypto, for unruggable, credibly neutral intelligence, value transfer, and more rails. Like it's grown up quite a bit.
Yeah. I can imagine, I mean, I've obviously used Discord a lot too, and 500,000 active users in one Discord sounds incredibly difficult to manage as a community. Well, it wasn't?
I think it depends on the community. Like you look at all the crypto discords and it's literally like price up, price down, airdrop farming. Whereas this was people genuinely excited. Like we created the stable diffusion model, type in words, get images.
Yeah, I know.
They were genuinely excited and they were building. And in fact, like at Stability, we built state-of-the-art video, audio, 3D, brain, X-ray models, 80 developers 3/4 of them were hired from the community. Some of them only had 1 or 2 years of AI experience because they were just so passionate. And again, that reminds me of the early days of crypto, where people came together and just built stuff, before it became about fancy yacht parties and all this kind of other stuff. I don't get invited to enough parties, so be careful about that.
I'll invite you to my yacht party Thursday.
Well, there we go.
Okay, hold on. Yeah.
Tick.
All right. So, right. Hedge fund manager, investing in emerging markets, also gaming. And then your son had autism. So you closed down the fund then?
I stopped being a hedge fund manager, stepped down as CIO there at the hedge fund I was at.
And then you said that led you to AI.
Yeah, because they said there was no cure and no treatment.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm arrogant, there must be something. And then I thought it was about the knowledge. So when you've got a diagnosis of autism, cancer, Alzheimer's, every single person goes through that same journey of there's no cure because medicine works by treating everyone as a number. But what causes it? No one can tell you what causes COVID and other things. So I was like, let's get an AI team to analyze the literature and then figure out drugs that can make him better, because people were saying it's fungus or vaccines, or how do you know? So I did that and repurposed drugs and ended up going to mainstream school. Maybe it was a one-on-one. Maybe it can be more generalized. We'll find out soon.
But I'm curious, why did you go to AI at that time? Like, so you already were interested in AI before this, or in your search, you were like, oh,
I did maths and computer science at university. I was a professional developer as well, started my career. And I was like, there is this massive information. We need to figure out what the connections of that information are. And so AI was the logical thing to do literature search and more. And now you're seeing the final version of that, and that you can get deep research or something literally to analyze everything. Like, your first protocol probably shouldn't be a doctor today, even. It should be just have a quick check with the AI and then take the AI report to the doctor.
Right.
But back then it wasn't quite so easy.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around. So when you started using AI, were you surprised at the progress that had happened from university?
Yeah, I was surprised, but it wasn't quite good enough. But it allowed me to figure out some of the interconnections, things that could possibly be causing this. And I found out that different things, the same treatment might cause different kids with ASD to get better or worse. But statistically, again, you could find these anomalies where you could have directionally beneficial stuff.
And then from that experience, it sounds to me, then you became really, really passionate about AI.
Yeah, passionate about AI healthcare. Then COVID came, and I saw that coming. I did a big interview with Raoul Pal right in January, I think, on that. And I was like, this is crazy. It's like autism, a multi-systemic condition that you don't know what's going to cause it. So we need to organize the world's knowledge on that. So I set up an initiative for that, got backed by the World Bank, WHO. They were all at the launch event. Nobody really came through, especially the tech companies.
No, really? Why?
They said it was too dangerous to have the tech, like what if you used one of these models and you misdiagnosed someone? I was like, people were dying. And I saw the future as this is when GPT was coming out. I was like, well, what if people don't have access to that technology or knowledge? When we were making Stable Diffusion, they banned all Ukrainians, OpenAI, and Ukrainian content from DALL-E, the equivalent. So all of a sudden, Ukrainians could be a bit less creative. And I was like, given AI eventually will be there with us, accentuating our capabilities, you don't want someone to have the off switch. You need permissionless innovation. And it's that next level of sovereign value transfer that we saw in incredibly neutral rails. We need sovereign knowledge to be available to everyone in a way that's aligned to them. So that's when I got really into open source.
Then you built Stability.
Yes.
Right. And so you started this company. From that, you realized that open source AI is the way, or?
Well, it was built as an open source AI company. Originally, it was meant to be a DAO of DAOs, but then I was like, there's no intelligence in DAOs, so we can't do that. Let's not make it full of people saying when airdrop. Let's do a more conventional route. And we were successful in building models with 300 million downloads. And again, just like Bitcoin code is permissionless, you can go and you can mine it yourself. And some solar miners have found blocks recently, You could just take Stable Diffusion and run it on your laptop. You didn't need anyone's permission, which led to this massive increase in visual media,
Right.
And then you saw the language models and others. And my view was just, if I look forward to the future, my child will grow with an AI. I want that AI to be aligned to him.
Yes.
I don't want it to be run by Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
So someone needs to build the open source AI. And so I was like, I've done my part for media. Now I want to build AI that matters in this next part.
I hear in the media and from different people talking about AI, pessimistic people pessimistic about AI and maybe more optimistic. It sounds like you're very optimistic about AI being decentralized. But a lot of the people I listen to say that decentralized AI can't compete with these centralized players. I'm assuming you disagree.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like, on a fraction of the budget, we built state-of-the-art models of every single type. We've just released a bunch of state-of-the-art models even now, and we haven't even done a proper funding round yet. The nature of AI isn't such that someone can drop $1 billion and get a top-notch model. In fact, you've seen that. Amazon spent $1 billion and they couldn't build a top-notch model. It's about finding the right people in the right way to almost craft these things. But if we look at what the future is our personal AIs are there with us every single day, and those will run on normal devices. The fact that we've moved from these like stochastic parrots, like these very memory unrich AIs that you just bounce back questions to be able to do longer tasks, lends itself to sequential distributed computing. You have one of the co-founders of Anthropic talking about this now. You see companies like Nous and Prime Intellect pushing those forward. And I think eventually we will have billions and trillions of agents. I don't see how that can be all centralized. Now, the question is, what are you competing on, though? A lot of these big companies are trying to build AI God, polymaths that can do absolutely everything. I'm not actually that interested in that side, like good
AGI, basically.
AGI, yeah. But I think ASI, artificial superintelligence, AGI for me is just AI that does what it's told. It's like,
okay,
I don't need a chef to come up with a recipe every day. I go and eat snail porridge at Heston Blumenthal's restaurant. It's nice. He's a genius. I don't want that every day. I want great cooks that can help me teach my kids, manage my healthcare, run the government, grow my business. And those don't need to be super polymaths. And so that's the type of AI that I'm most interested in, which I think is genuine AGI. And we're at this point now whereby you won't be able to tell it's an AI on the other side of your Zoom call or your text message. And we need to make sure that we own those AIs as opposed to we're outsourcing all of our knowledge and capabilities to someone else.
You talked briefly about agentic AI. Do you see this as the next step, right? Like, so ChatGPT and some of these models are kind of, I would say, integrated in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
And then the next leg up would be just this proliferation of billions of.
You have a team around you, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've grown companies and you've kind of things. The most difficult thing is finding people that will get the job done. Now you will be able to literally have Zoom calls with your AIs and things. You won't know it's an AI or human on the other side, and you will build a team to support you. And then they will just go and get the job done asynchronously. Because most of our AI interaction, type in a word, an image comes, type in a prompt, something comes back, has been synchronous. But that's not how most things work. It's this asynchronous thing of like, go and get something done, then come back to me, and I'll give you input, and it's continuously learning. So we've moved now to test time compute, which is spend longer to get better results, asynchronous working with agents like Manus and others, and then memory as well, so it adapts to your own context. And of course, people will use that. And I don't think people realize how many people will use that so suddenly in the next year, because the models have just got good enough. So just like you wouldn't hire a call center worker now because the AI can do a better job, there'll be so many jobs that AI can do better, but then there'll be new things you could do that you could never do before thanks to AI, such as, I hope, remaking Game of Thrones season 8 in a few years, things like that.
Well, yeah, release the book as well, right?
That'll never happen. Come on, AI can't do magic.
Are we going to start to see these these agents start to really kind of proliferate over the next couple of years, you think?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, like, think about it back when ChatGPT came out that Christmas.
Yeah.
Every head teacher in the world had to say, what's my generative AI strategy? Every head teacher. Like, can you set essays for homework anymore? Yeah. That's crazy. But now every single person when they're hiring is going to think, well, should I have an agent instead? Or just in your daily lives, I've got an agent in my house. Siri will stop being stupid. I
don't know about that. Baffling, Apple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to push back a little bit on this, I was listening to a podcast with, I think it was Empire, and the CEO of Blockworks was talking about how he can tell in his company who is using AI daily and who isn't. I mean, it's readily apparent, right? Because those people who are using it, they're doing 10x the work, right? But he said, and this is what I found surprising, is even though Blockworks is pushing all of their people to use AI, only about 25% are still using it.
Yeah.
So I have to think that most people in tech even are not using AI yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a competitive advantage thing. Those that don't will eventually be outpaced by those who do, I mean, 1.4 million people still use AOL CDs and dial-up.
Do they really?
Yeah.
No, there's no way.
Really? Banks are still running Fortran,
Okay,
like, technological diffusion takes a while. Just like robots aren't coming because we can only build so many robots. People are still slow to adoption of AI, but it doesn't mean that there won't be AI everywhere. It'll just be that some people will be surrounded by AIs and some people won't, and those that are surrounded will be more effective.
So let's just say roughly 25% of people in tech use AI, and then AI agents come out, and then some percentage of those 25% will start to use those. I mean, so it's becoming a smaller.
Well, I think it's actually bigger because the way that, again, the way that you use an agent isn't the way that you use ChatGPT. Like, we had to learn to prompt, right?
Right, that's true.
Literally, you just have a chat with it, like on the other side of a screen. And you'd be like, I am thinking about this. I got a podcast coming up with this crazy guy. Go and find out everything about him and some interesting questions. Like, oh, that's... You just go back and forth. It's very natural the way that you interact with these new AIs versus the old AIs.
Right.
The way you can give them feedback. Like when you go to deep research, it says, well, here's the brief of what I think you want. Here's a few clarifying questions, and you give it the input. And then you go back and just edit it. Or using the new ChatGPT image generator, make it Ghibli. Make it more Ghibli, make his head bigger. It just does that. It's natural.
Well, it didn't for me. It kept telling me it was a copyright violation, and I had to go.
You're not good enough font.
I had to go. Dude, I spent days trying to do it. I think there might be some kind of, honestly, I think there might be some kind of location layer in it. Because I live in Japan, and I just...
It flat out refused.
Absolutely for anything.
Open source. Open source.
That's what that's what I ended up having to use.
We created a Japanese version of Stable Diffusion. So when you type in woman, it gives you a Japanese woman. And when you type in salaryman, it gives you a sad person versus a happy person. Local context is important.
Nice. I definitely can notice running up into kind of the limitations of non-open source AI in my use of AI daily.
Yeah, I mean, we had a piece that we wrote called, how to think about AI. And I said the closest concept is just a graduate. And we have this new content called AI Atlantis. And so the open source models are the graduates that you hire yourself for your own team. And the open AIs and everyone else are the consultants that you consult. The graduates don't need to be the smartest in the world, but they need to be aligned to you. And then for all the complex stuff, you just call in the consultants.
And this would all be kind of run on... What kind of hardware requirements do you envision in the future?
So I think in a year, by the end of next year, you will have an OpenAI O3 level model that runs on a MacBook.
Okay, wow.
And so that's the top of the line that just runs on a MacBook.
Yeah.
Like you already have a ChatGPT level model. Alibaba just released their Qwen series, open source, that runs on a MacBook that matches ChatGPT today.
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah.
Crazy to think about,
right?
Nice. But that's why, like, you just had Prime Intellect release their distributed inference solution that can run models on networks of these MacBooks incredibly fast. And you think about it, you'll have your local AI, then you'll have your community AI, then you'll have your country AI. Like, this is an intelligence protocol that's emerging right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as an aside, I mean, you already use this, I'm assuming, with your kids. But, I mean, I have kids as well, and I already am trying to design how to incorporate AI into their education because at least I know for the Japanese system, they are so far behind, and they're not going to be incorporating this into their public education system.
Well, I mean, it's designed to make them cogs, right? Education should be about increasing our kids' agency. It's about removing our kids' agency.
Yeah.
Healthcare is about sick care. Like these things can be flipped now because we can push expertise to the edge. The best educational solution I've seen so far has been Math Academy.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to check it out.
So they have a great book called The Math Academy Way that comes with that includes all the research on how to teach kids with AI as well. And like some kids I've shown that to have literally gone from bottom quartile to top linear algebra within a few years.
Nice.
Because it's adaptive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But where we're going, the AIs will build themselves and other things like that. It's quite remarkable to see when you use things like the Manuses and GenSparks of the world.
You think you said at the beginning of our interview that it's really important that AI be decentralized. What are you doing to help make this a reality? So
I think decentralization is an access question. It's a governance question, and it's a power question. So access, we want to make it available to everyone. We want to make sure that you have your self-sovereign AI for the stuff that matters, and you don't want to have concentration of power. What blockchains have been good at is verification, coordination, and resilience. And again, I think Bitcoin is a prime example of that, Ethereum as well. They don't really go down. The AI in the future, like as our kids grow, their best friend will be an AI. You don't want someone to shut that off arbitrarily, or you don't want to have, for example, Google and Meta are selling ad space inside their models now. So
Are they really?
Yeah. So when
Seriously?
yeah, of course they are. It's very high click through.
Oh man.
It's their business model, of course.
Yeah, I get it, but
So,
still.
a beer is a Bud Light, like
Yeah.
this kind of thing. So I think that any AI that makes a decision that impacts humans needs to be open source and open data, and no one's building that. So I decided to build that for education, for healthcare, for regulated industries, the stuff that matters, the operating system of humanity. We released the I Think dataset and model, which performs above the DeepSeek R1 one when tuned, and uses half the number of thinking tokens. We released AI Researcher, that's a deep research equivalent that outperforms Perplexity and OpenAI's models, again, fully open source. And the plan is that we will build for every single country, every single sector, for the stuff that matters, because again, you can call in the expert AIs for other stuff, to teach the kids, to help you with your health, to help the governments, a full open source stack.
Who's paying for this?
Basically, our assumption there is that the amount of inference or compute that you use for your healthcare is going to go from naught to lots. And that healthcare has to be in Japan and ideally on your computer. Use all of the compute for that to secure a brand new cryptocurrency to come. And then that looks very familiar to a Bitcoin or some other stuff. So we'll include more details about that. But basically, we think there needs to be a new money for the future and time of AI that's secured against intelligence. And we can use that to give free AI to everyone as a protocol.
Okay.
So we've included some details of that in our existing Prime, but not the cryptocurrency details as yet.
Okay. I see. So basically, tell me if I'm wrong in this. Basically, you're trying to use some of the self-funding mechanisms of blockchains to and wed that to paying for open source or like freely available AI?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we said this in our initial announcement post. We're just finalizing the details now. We want to build an institutional grade digital asset that provisions loads of compute to help lots of people. As you help more people, you get more compute. It's as simple as that. Bitcoin is the most successful example of that. It provisions lots of compute to secure a credibly neutral value transmission network. Now we want to provision lots of AI compute to secure a credibly neutral knowledge transmission network for the stuff, again, that matters. And again, I think if you want to use AI to remake Game of Thrones, that can be closed source. It doesn't matter that much,
Yeah.
If you want to use it for entertainment, all these other things. But the AI that teaches my kids, that needs to be self-sovereign. I need to own that, control that, and they need to control that when they grow. The AI that manages my healthcare, like with the government, the new tariffs were calculated by ChatGPT from the US.
Right. I saw some of that.
You see where this is going?
Yeah.
Like, we need open systems for that, and that needs to be a protocol owned by everyone. So we've been working on the game theory of how we have collective governance, how the Japanese people can decide the Japanese models and data sets and other things like that. And, hopefully we can have a protocol that supports humanity.
Are governments are they involved in this? Are they taking this seriously? Or are they slow on the uptake?
They are. Every government wants to, but they don't know how to. Like, again, even if you drop $1 billion, you're going to get a top-notch model, whereas we're just really great model builders. So, we've got a team of 40 people now growing, building top-notch models, and we've got a formula that will allow everyone to build their own models. But do you really want the governments fully in charge? No, you want to have it by the people, for the people, of the people.
Yeah.
And I think there's a chance to set a default now, while the governments are still figuring out things, to still work with the governments, but we want collectively owned AI. Again, the AI that teaches the children of Japan should be owned by the people of Japan, governed by the people of Japan, and then you should be able to customize it to your own child in a transparent manner.
Yeah.
And that's the end state we want to get to. And I think, again, we can use the lessons of crypto to get there.
Yeah. So I've interviewed several people who have projects that were initially doing CPU and GPU compute, and they've kind of pivoted over to AI, providing AI compute in that respect. Do you think that's going to also be important in this like future decentralization space where you are able to, I guess, in a decentralized way, choose how and where you're getting your compute from?
I think it will be. Again, like let's take for instance healthcare data. You can't have your healthcare data for your healthcare AI sent to OpenAI servers outside of Japan. Ideally, you want it as localized as possible. Intelligence is localized, I think, ideally for the important things. Similarly, the productive capacity of a country, its capital stock, will be the amount of GPUs and intelligence it has, right? Like your capabilities will become a function of how much compute you have access to, because that's more and more agents, right? And though that's crazy, it's also the great leveler.
Sounds wild.
But this is where we're coming to, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're using Anthropic's Claude model last year, amazing coding model, until I hit the limits and they're like, you're rate limited. I'm like, I'm not a good coder anymore. The rate limits come back. I'm a good coder again,
Yeah.
Like when you're getting to the flow on deep research and then all of a sudden it says you've used your daily allocation, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
It will be a function of, again, your intelligent capital stock. But the nice thing about this is an inevitability. Your healthcare AI right now is that much, and your kids is that much. In the future, it will be that much. And that's computation that we can use to secure currency or do other things, which I think is a very interesting thing. And again, we have the opportunity now to set real defaults of self-sovereignty versus political coordination and control by external entities.
How are you approaching kind of ethical considerations around AI, as in like these centralized services? They really have to provide kind of, I guess, like guardrails for what kinds of output are allowed.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of concern about this. The world hasn't ended yet. I was one of the only signatories on the 6-month pause letter. I think ethics is important. A lot of ethics is localized in terms of the governance of these models. But like the models that we have to teach our children shouldn't know about like nuclear bombs and particle physics and chlorine gassing and things
how
like
to
that.
how to make napalm.
Yeah, so like inputs govern the outputs.
Right.
So that's why we need gold standard data sets for those, like models that just do the job, chefs rather than cooks rather than chefs, as it were, is the way that I'm approaching this. Because I don't want to build AGI or a new machine god, unlike these big labs. I want to build AI that helps people. And I don't want to replace people either. This is the building agents versus increasing people's agency. We want to build stuff that helps people. And I think a lot of ethics then comes down to the individual. Like in Japan, the concept of a robot is your buddy that goes beside you, or you're inside a giant mecha or something, that accentuates your capabilities. Whereas the Western conceptualization is more Terminator.
Yeah.
So these
true.
cultural things I think are very important as well.
Yeah, I mean, in Japan, there's obviously a huge population of over 60, over 70, and local governments give out those little pet robot dogs to old people who have lost their partner, or, and they're still in their house, and they love them. They absolutely love them. And you can imagine in a year or two, why not have some AI in that? That would be even better, right?
No, it's already happening. AI companions all around. Like, to be honest, I'm not so worried about like men, but women, because the AI actually listens. And I'm like, they'll finally figure out they don't need the guys anymore.
All right, let's see. Last question for you, sir. Do you think crypto will become very, very kind of intertwined with AI, or is AI just like this superset and it's just going to change everything? And crypto is kind of like a subset or some little part of it.
If we want verifiable, coordinated, resilient AI, I think we need crypto, because I don't want the AI that teaches my kids to go haywire, or the AI that runs the robots. I think that's open source stack. That isn't all of AI. That's a subset of AI. I think that crypto can outcompete and outperform a lot of these things. But the flip side is, we started with Bitcoin as this credibly neutral value transmission network. But then we stayed a bit too libertarian, so that most of crypto is rugs and scams and other things like that. It should be incorruptible. Now with an AI, you could basically have all the inputs go in and a very specific output come out. You can create uncorruptible, unruggable systems for the first time that don't need any humans for the trust aspect. And so I think that's the next evolution of crypto, because no crypto projects from now, very few, you would rely upon for your child's education or your healthcare, or again, the stuff that matters. But now I think you can have that, and we can have a better system for society based on that. But it took a lot of growing to get here, and it's only really possible now. So I think it works both ways. If we want to have the best system to help us all, it needs crypto. And if we want the best crypto, then we need AI.
I do disagree, though. I would definitely entrust my kids' education to Fartcoin. So
there we go. Let's get some residual shilling in there before the AI stops you.
I don't have any Fartcoin.
I don't know how that's an AI coin. Someone explain.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it, and you've given me as a parent a lot to think about, and I look forward to seeing your progress, and I hope that you're right, because I think that is kind of, if you're not right, it's going to be a more of a pessimistic future.
Well, we can all do it together.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Cheers.